Alright, we got no. Alright. Hey, what's up, y'all? It's Zims, and welcome to another live stream. Hope you guys are enjoying this, man. I'm loving it. Hope you guys are loving it, man. If you haven't already, be sure you check out my content, man. Hit that like button, hit the subscribe button, hit the notification bell so you can get all the updates when they do drop. Today, we're going to be reacting to Mick Creepypasta, Nightmare Files, and lastly, of Mr. Ballin' because of Wolf Kid Werewolf's birthday. So he was like, his birthday's today and he would like me to react to it. I felt honored. It's an honor. I never had someone request a video on their birthday, so it means a lot to me that you guys are really watching my content or binging my content. And whether it's the game or the reaction, just know it's all appreciated. If you want access to any of these challenges, make sure you swoop down to the description box, click on the links, go watch the videos in entirety while we pause it and stop it and talk it through the whole thing. But for now, let's get it. You're doing great, Zims, homie. Thank you, I appreciate it. Oh, would you say? Oh, Riley's retracted it. Never mind. But let's get it. Let me know if the volume is too loud or if it's too low. Viewer discretion is advised. If you're really sensitive to graphic material, I don't know what it's going to say or what it's going to do, but you have been warned. And let's get it. I want to eat some chips so bad, but at the same time,
Nightmare Files.
Ooh.
The Conjuring 1 and 2 were very successful films that followed past cases of Ed and Lorraine Warren
Facts.
that involved haunted houses in the 1970s. The Conjuring 3 will once again follow a case of the Warrens, but this one takes place in the 80s about America's first "The Devil Made Me Do It" court case. The case of Arne Johnson murdering Alan Bono.
I didn't hear about this one. But if you think about it, bro, back then, 1970s and stuff, ghosts was popping off. They were way worse back then. Throwing stuff, biting you, beating you up in your sleep and stuff.
We were contacted by Father Dennis, who at that time was pastor of St. Joseph's Church in Brookfield, Tony. And the call came in, and he spoke about a young boy who he had been trying to help. Now, you would watch David, and he would be doodling, you know, drawing or something like that, and he'd be concentrating on what he was doing, and then he would look up, and it was no longer a little 11-year-old boy.
Now this 11-year-old boy has
Shit.
become extremely strong. He and Debbie, his fiancée, who was David's sister, would go off fishing and they'd have a good time. But this kid, at 18 years old at the time, would stay awake all night long and then go to work the next morning.
Hell no.
But he made a fatal mistake. One night he said, and he screamed at these devils, "Take me on. Leave my little buddy alone." Well, he got his wish.
He challenged the demonic.
On July
I'm sorry. No matter how much I love you, I'm going to try my best to help you fight that demon, but I'll be damned if I offer my body up to something that I cannot see. Something that's going to destroy me. Something that's going to destroy my life. I'm sorry. I love you, but I don't love you that damn much.
July 3rd, 1980, 11-year-old David Glatzel woke up screaming about a black beast-looking man. David wasn't the kind of kid who watched scary movies, and he sure wasn't one to make up stories or have such vivid nightmares.
Oh my
And
goodness.
this one really shook him up. His whole demeanor changed. The once happy-go-lucky kid became quiet and nervous. David's sister, Debbie, asked her fiancé to stay with the family for a while just to help out David.
Nope.
That fiancé was Arne Johnson. Things didn't get better. David had more nightmares of the Beast Man, who promised to take the kid's soul. Odd scratches and bruises began to appear on David. The injuries seemed to happen while David slept. Odd noises came from the attic, but Arne couldn't find any reasonable answer for them. Worst of all, David began to see the Beast Man while he was awake, claiming that the monster would appear as an old man with a white beard, dressed in a flannel shirt and jeans, sitting in the corner staring at him.
Santa Claus.
With no one else to turn to, the Glatzel family turned to their church. A priest came to the home and blessed it, which seemed to piss off the Beast Man. The sounds in the attic became louder. David's dreams and daytime visions increased. David began to hiss at his family and speak in multiple voices.
Yep. I don't know. It kind of like At what point, like, is it any way you can even help somebody like that? Because I heard of some possession cases where the possession is like you call the priest busts the house and fights the demon. It's like, oh, I don't want to be here no more. The demon leaves. But some cases they get even more mad. So it's just like, is there any other way besides death? Or like, what other way is there? Because from what I'm seeing, someone always ends up dying when a demon gets pissed off. Either he's going to hurt the person that he's controlling, or he's going to hurt somebody dearest to him, and then they're going to just kind of like back off. There's nothing that you can really do, to be honest with you, unless you can somehow pull some goddamn insidious type shit and go inside your body or whatever and whip his ass and come back out and be fine. Then there's no other way to go about it, and you're just going to have to sit there. Me personally, I wouldn't be living there anymore. I'm sorry to say, I'll try to help you my best as I can, but I'm not staying in that house, bro.
He started to quote Paradise Lost, a book that I don't see any 11-year-old reading. During the night, someone would have to stay up and watch David, who would wake up every 30 minutes, sometimes having seizures. To put it bluntly, things really suck for the Gladsels. Unsure of what to do, the priest reached out to a kindly couple who had helped out in the past, Ed and Lorraine Warren. The Warrens took the short trip to Brookfield so that Ed could speak with David. It became clear to the Warrens that David was possessed. According to Lorraine, the Warrens, along with 4 priests, held 3 exorcisms to free David from the hold of 43 demons. During one of the exorcisms, to free David from the hold of 43 demons.
43? Bruh, he put him on Pornhub. He got gang banged by a bunch of demons, bruh. 43? Oh my goodness, bruh.
During one of the exorcisms, R.N.A. Johnson made a tragic mistake. He taunted the demons inside David, going so far to claim that the monsters were too frightened to try and enter him.
That's a football team.
When the exorcism was over, the Warrens called the Brookfield police and suggested that they keep an eye on R.N.A. R.N.A. was well liked and hard working all the way up to that day. That day he challenged whatever was inside David. According to Debbie, R.N.A. would go into trances where he would growl at nothing really.
Charge him rent.
And claim to see the beast man. When he would come out of the trances, R.N.A. wouldn't remember any of it. R.N.A. started to get into trouble with the police. Then came February 16th, 1981.
What's good, Aiden,
R.N.A.
bro?
called out of work, choosing instead to spend it with Debbie and his sister Wanda at their job at the kennel. Debbie's cousin Mary was also spending the day at the kennel. It was President's Day and school was closed. As the 4 were at the kennel, Alan Bono showed up and took them all out to lunch at the local bar. R.N.A. and Alan were drinking serious amount of alcohol at lunch. Then everyone returned to the kennel. There was an uneasiness about the atmosphere. An argument between R.N.A. and Alan broke out. R.N.A. started to growl and hiss. Debbie feared the worst and tried to get Wanda and Mary out of the room. Alan was faster. He grabbed Mary and refused to let go. She's 9 years old.
Jesus.
That was when R.N.A. pulled out a knife and stabbed Alan Bono in the stomach, pulling the knife up and creating an incision reaching Alan's heart. R.N.A. then stabbed Alan Bono a few more times before leaving the scene. As November 1980 started, things seemed okay. David's parents took him to a psychiatrist and their family physician. David was, according to the doctors, a normal kid with a slight learning disability.
Bullshit.
Though he still had trouble sleeping. Debbie and R.N.A. moved into their own apartment, rented out by Alan Bono. But R.N.A. had changed. In all his 19 years, R.N.A. had never gotten into trouble. He was the typical good guy. He even dropped out of high school to get a full-time job to help out his mom.
Damn.
He even bought his mom a car. When it came time for the trial, the Warrens appeared in court and provided evidence for the judge and jurors to prove that there was some type of demonic activity going on. They explained to the court that R.N.A. had become demonically possessed after the exorcism. But that evidence wasn't enough in the courts because R.N.A. was convicted of first-degree manslaughter. He was sentenced to 10 years in prison. However, he only served 5 years of his sentence.
But it's the devil.
R.N.A. and Debbie got married after he was released and are still together to this day. And up until now, R.N.A. has never had another episode.
Jesus Christ. I don't know, bro. 'Cause, like, is that even a good argument to say? You'd be like, does he have anything to say? Yes, Your Honor. The devil made me do it. Like, what? Like, that's not. I don't even know how. I don't know. That's crazy, bruh. That this stuff actually happened. These are the kind of stories where I tell you guys, I wish I was there so I can actually see it for myself, but then I kind of don't. Because if they did exercise the demon and that shit came out and it targeted me and took me over, like, I just don't want to be in that environment. Like, I'd rather not. Can we submit videos for you to react to? Yeah, you can. Not during the live stream, but usually throughout the week. I'll look at the videos you guys send me, and I'll decide if I want to react to it or not, depending on the channel and depending on their content. Because I can't share certain things, or some people don't like let you react to their stuff. So most of the people I react to either gave me permission or they're pretty much chill about it. I'm gonna start blaming the devil no matter how unrealistic it sounds. Hey, it might work, bro. I've heard of stranger cases. Is that it? Oh, well. Jesus. Well, guys, that was Nightmare Files. If you guys want to see his content, please go check it out down in the description. This dude is really cool. He's really chill people. Also, look him up on Twitter as well, as same as his YouTube name, Nightmare Files. He's really chill. He usually replies back to everybody. Check out some more of his content, and we will be moving on to the next video. The next video is by mr.nightmare, and it is called I Dared My Friend to Ruin My Life. This video was recommended to me by Michaela, I think is it Michaela or Michaela 213. So we're going to jump into that and see what this is about. I've never reacted to Mr. Creepypasta or Mick Creepypasta, so we're going to see what that is about. But it's by Zansan90, and he's just pretty much telling the story or their account of what happened to him. So with that being said, hopefully you guys are ready. If you guys have any questions or comments on the previous video that we have watched, feel free to let me know now, or forever hold your peace before I start the video. Going once, going twice. Let's get it. Mick Creepypasta, intro by Nicholas Kagans, featuring Sims. His friend ruined his life by banging his girl. Oh, dang, that's messed up. I hope it's not that. Dang, I'll be mad.
My name's Xander, and my best friend is trying to ruin my life.
Okay.
Started out very small, but he's quickly grown out of control. I'm currently sitting inside a church, using their Wi-Fi to post a story and taking advantage of their air conditioning. I'm posting the story in case... Well, in case
he kills you?
He finds me and kills me soon.
Damn! He said ruin it, not end it.
It's only a matter of time now, and I want someone to know what happened before I die. 2 years ago, my friend David and I were sitting on the couch at my house, thoroughly bored. It wasn't a temporary boredom either. It was a resounding boredom with life. We both worked full-time at the local movie theater, making minimum wage and cleaning up after idiots who couldn't keep popcorn and soda in their mouths.
Facts.
We had graduated high school 2 years prior and had no plans to attend college. Life looked bleak for us. College didn't sound appealing, work was annoying, and the little free time we had was blown on video games and YouTube.
But speaking of movies, man, stop bringing kids to the movies, bro. Put that back, bro. Bring the baby crying room back that they used to have back in the movie theaters, bro. Take that crying ass baby out of the movie theater, bro. Get a babysitter or something. Fathead ass kids be ruining the whole movie. It be getting good. They start crying and stuff. I'm like, damn, you gonna give me my refund or what? No, I'm just playing, but no, seriously though. You gotta bring them kids outside, bro.
We both still lived with our parents too, which made dating somewhat embarrassing.
There's nothing wrong with that.
Looking back, I'm sure we were suffering from mild depression on top of everything else.
Depression is serious, bro. It's okay to talk to people.
These life circumstances blended together to create the perfect storm of what I now have to call my reality. As we sat on the couch at my parents' house, channel surfing the TV, David asked if I was bored with life.
Facts,
I responded in a positive, and he sighed. High school was so easy because we knew our purpose and our goals were set for us. Outline the English essay, finish the math homework, get decent grades, pass the driving exam, be home by curfew, find a girlfriend. Now that we're out of high school, there's no structure. Our lives have become meaningless, and we're just floating through space with no aim or purpose.
Facts.
Would you go back to high school then? I asked. He shook his head. In that moment, high school was annoying. Only after looking back that I see how much better it was than I realized. What's the solution then? I asked. Either go somewhere that has structure and can deliver what high school gave us, or create our own structure, David replied.
That's true.
Well, I don't want to go to college, or the military.
That's fair.
I said, and I can't think of anything else that provides the same structure. Because I have to make my own.
Sports?
I have no idea where to start. Well, that's the thing about high school, was that it required a minimum effort. If you didn't give that minimum effort, you won't face the consequences. The consequences were bad enough that you and I would put effort into school. When high school ended, the minimum effort level decreased. Now our minimum effort is not enough to improve ourselves. Whatever structure we built has to have those consequences built in, and a minimum effort that forces us to improve constantly.
Facts.
David was, and is, a very intelligent person. He thinks about everything. You can't already tell. I was pretty dumb compared to him, but I stuck around because he always had interesting things to say. This conversation definitely counted as interesting.
Sounds like me.
I won't bore you with the entire conversation that we had, but it lasted an hour where we discussed how to build structure in our lives. I want to emphasize here that boredom is dangerous.
Yes, it is.
That's not dangerous by itself, but it can quickly lead to dangerous things.
Mm-hmm.
Boredom can lead to pain, accidental children, technology that disrupts a monopoly, even death. Our boredom led to a dare. I dare you to try to ruin my life, David said. What does that mean? I said. It's a way to build structure into my life. If I know that you're always trying to ruin my life and actively trying to make me fail, then I'm driven to fight back and act on initiative. But how could I ruin your life? I asked.
Why
You
would
could ruin
want
anyone's
that?
life if you give enough thought, planning, and action, David said with a smirk. I'm not going to give you any ideas. I just want you to try to ruin my life. I remember sitting back and thinking about what he meant.
I don't know why would you want that, because at the same time, if you're caught in an act trying to ruin someone's life, whether you're like breaking into their house and taking things, or you're popping tires or something like that, and you get caught by the police, then technically, you ruined your life as well. You know what I'm saying? So I don't know. I'm kind of curious of what direction this video is going to go in, but right now it's kind of like weird. I don't know how structure went to you trying to ruin my life, and I don't think you ruining my life is going to help me create structure. It's going to help me create more problems that I have to deal with on the side. I don't know. That's the way I interpret it, but let me know what you guys think.
The first thoughts that came to my mind were about tripping him occasionally or hiding his toothbrush every time I went to his house. My young mind didn't fully understand how serious David was being. His mind was running 3 tracks above mine. So I didn't know what I was getting into when I said, okay, I'll try to ruin your life. But I dare you to try and ruin my life as well. He smiled with a newfound enthusiasm, and I smiled back. I had hoped it would be a great way to relieve my boredom with life. David stood up and punched me in the leg as hard as he could. I shouted at him, mostly out of surprise. He laughed. The dare starts now, he said, grabbing his shoes. We're no longer friends. We're nemesis. He opened my front door and looked over his shoulder. Good luck, he said. I hope you'll work half as hard as I will. Once he left, I just sat there rubbing my sore thigh. Okay, I thought.
Be careful who your
He wants
friends
a
are.
war. He'll get a war. That night, I had laid awake trying to think of ways to make his life harder for him. My ideas were also childish and useless compared to what he would later throw at me. I'm too embarrassed to list my ideas from back then. I wish I could say I remembered the day David turned against me for real, but it was so subtle that I didn't notice right away. To my face, David acted completely normal. While we were at work, I would sprinkle popcorn over a section that he had just cleaned, and point it out to him. He would just laugh and say, "Is that really supposed to ruin my life?" Then he would clean it up. I expected him to do the same to me, but he didn't. His lack of visible retaliation made me bored again, so I stopped. Looking back, I suspect that behind my back he was sabotaging my image with our other coworkers and our boss. Out of the blue, my boss called me into his office and told me that I was fired because I wasn't doing a good enough job. David acted sorry I was leaving, and we promised to hang out again soon. I left, thinking I could make this something good and get a real job. That dream died. And I ended up at McDonald's instead.
Hey,
After I'd
Nuggets.
been at McDonald's for a month or so, my parents confronted me. They asked me if I had been stealing cash from their wallets. I had never stolen a cent from them, and told them so. They backed off, but only for a week until my mom's debit card went missing.
Hell no, bro.
They confronted me again, this time very angry. They accused me of withdrawing several $100s using my mom's debit card. I have no siblings, so it wouldn't have been anyone else in the house. It turned into a screaming match, and they demanded that I move out as quickly as possible.
Wow.
With my small cash of savings, I found an apartment near the local community college that housed college students. The rent was affordable enough for me, so I moved out within a month.
That's insane.
I moved
man.
in and became instant friends with two of my roommates, Clark and Ivan. Our other roommate, Isaac, kept to himself and stayed in his room playing video games 24/7. Life got good again because I hung out with Clark and Ivan frequently. David and I had stopped hanging out after I was fired from the movie theater. I hadn't forgot about him, but I had forgotten about the dare. Every once in a while, I would message him on Facebook or shoot him a text to ask if he wanted to hang out, but my messages were always ignored. Eventually, I gave up. Within 6 months, I had a great life going, and I was dating a girl named Katie. I had been promoted to crew trainer at McDonald's, which paid better, and my bank account was slowly growing. I only recognized this as David's doing when I look back, but an obscene amount of junk mail showed up with my name on it every single day. Magazines, credit card offers, vacation ads, and even physical letters from real people who claimed to be excited to be my new pen pal.
What the hell?
I sorted through them every day trying to find some pattern. Clark and Ivan thought it was hilarious. When I came home late from work, they would sometimes toss the junk mail in the air like confetti as I walked through the door, cheering that the mail king was home. One day I remembered feeling sick of getting all this junk mail, and decided to sit down, call every subscription to cancel. I recruited Clark and Ivan to help me. We sat down with snacks one afternoon and started to crank through phone calls. In a few days, the tide of junk mail subsided, and we celebrated our efforts. That only lasted a week. The next week, it started coming back in full force.
I mean, sitting here thinking, I'm thinking Dave already lost a bet because the dare was to ruin his life, not ruin his parents' life. It's kind of like a double ruin because not only are you taking money from their parents because they need to pay bills and stuff, you're also making the blame on him. So technically he lost because he brought the parents into it. I don't know if there was any rules, but technically to me that would be a loss already. And be like, hey, you lost, game's over. All right, stop playing. Give my parents' money back. Because I think right there, I would have been like, I would have got pissed right there. Took my mom's money and her debit card. Like, bro, you about to get beat down 100%. But I don't know. I think Dave is weird, bro.
There was twice as much as before, and even some pornographic magazines in the mix.
How
Not
dare
only did
you?
my physical junk mail increase, but my email became unnavigatable through all the new spam messages. Google moved a lot of it to the spam filter, but there was still hundreds of emails that made it through. My email had been subscribed to websites I'd never even heard of. Clark and Ivan were blown away by the new tide of junk mail. The event was dubbed Return of the Junk, and became a great icebreaker for Clark and Ivan to introduce me to other people at parties.
Return of the junk.
One day, I was browsing Facebook's People You May Know section when I came across someone's profile that had my picture, but a different name. The account was open for anyone to view and had lots of porn posts, status updates full of swearing and praises to Hitler. I frowned when I clicked on their pictures. Most of the pictures were the same ones from my Facebook account, but there were some pictures of me that weren't on my account or anywhere else online. Keep in mind, I didn't remember my dare to David, so I was feeling pretty creeped out. I hit the report button and let Facebook know the account was a fake and went on my way. I think 3 months or so later is when more stuff started to happen. Katie and I were getting very serious and discussing moving in together.
Here we
The
go.
junk mail still rolled in, and I was starting to just throw it away. Ivan had moved out to go to an actual university, so a new roommate, Jackson, had moved in. Clark and I attempted to befriend Jackson, but he's similar to Isaac and locked himself in his room most of the time. A new game became available for pre-order, so I submitted my email to reserve a copy. When I tried to log into my email to make sure the reserved copy was there, I couldn't log in. I hit forgot password, and it asked if I wanted to use my phone number to reset the password. I pressed yes, and waited for my phone to light up. It never did.
Change his number
I pressed the button 3 more times, but no text ever came. I tried old passwords I used to use, but none of them worked. I frowned, but eventually just walked away from my computer. I'd try again a different day. I sat down on the couch and pulled up Facebook on my phone. A pop-up appeared. "You've been signed out," it said. Then it jumped to the login screen. I thought I hit the logout button on accident, so I just typed my email and password. It didn't work.
You play too much, bro.
I tried again, but it still told me the password was incorrect. My phone buzzed in my hand. Katie was calling me. I answered it and immediately became concerned. She was sobbing. "Katie?" I asked. "You coward," she spat. You don't get to just Facebook me that shit. No, you have to talk to me and tell me with your voice." "Katie, what are you talking about?"
He broke
I
up
asked.
with her?
"Don't play stupid, asshole. Say it." "Say what?" "You Facebook me and say that we're through, but when I call, you deny everything? What the hell are you trying to pull, Xander?" Katie hissed. "Katie, my Facebook got hacked. I was literally just trying to log in when you called. Are you at home? I'm coming over. We're not done. We're far from done, sweetheart." It took me some time to convince Katie that it hadn't been me, but she relented when I showed her that I couldn't log in. I Googled how to get my Facebook account back and contacted their help center. Thankfully, they were able to get me back into my account. Lots of links to porn sites have been posted all over my page by whoever jacked my account, so I spent time deleting all of those. I also spent time answering family members who asked me about the strange content that had been posted. Awkward. Katie also found out through my feeds that my Twitter and Instagram had also been hacked. The accounts were posting hundreds of crude messages and pictures, and those 2 sites took a little more effort, but eventually I regained control over those too.
Bro, who is Dave, bro? Is he like a CIA agent? Like, how the hell is he getting all his passwords and emails and mailing addresses? And how did he even change his phone number? Does he have a fake ID or something? Like, what? I'm pretty sure it takes a lot to change the phone number, bro. Like, I think Dave is taking this too seriously. I don't know if he's just actually creepy and weird, or he's just kind of like competitive. Like, I think he took it way too serious, bro. Like, he's doing the most right now, and I don't like that at all. Like, I really don't like it. Like, I don't know. And then he broke up with his girlfriend, and I don't know. Somebody said that he banged his girlfriend, but I don't know if that's true or not, or if he will. But that's crazy.
Fixing my email took a couple of days, and I got access again. Not wanting to repeat the experience, I made my passwords into really long strings of numbers, letters, and symbols.
That's how you do it.
Each account had different passwords. For anyone who had done this, you know how impossible it would be to memorize your passwords. I wrote them down on a sheet of paper and put it in my dresser drawer.
Why would you
I
put
didn't
it?
intend to get hacked again. I'm telling you where I put the paper, so you'll know how freaked out I was when Facebook signed me out again the next week. I checked my other accounts, locked out again. I shot Katie a text to warn her, then called Facebook Help Center again. They gave me access to Facebook and gave me the same warning about making a long password. When I told them the type of precautions that I had taken last time, they suggested checking my computer for viruses in case there was a keylogger connecting all the information I typed. I called the computer repair center to ask what I needed to do to get my computer scanned. They asked me to bring it down and they'd check it out. I had a desktop, so bringing it down required a lot of unplugging.
Yep.
When I got
facts.
down behind the computer to unplug everything, I found a tiny USB stick that I'd never seen before. I frowned and tried to locate its content on the computer. The computer said no USB was attached. The computer repair guy confirmed the USB drive was a keylogger.
Wow.
He asked if my computer had ever been anywhere that anyone could walk up and use it. I told him no, and he said he had no idea how it could have gotten there. He didn't charge me anything, just warned me to keep an eye on my computer. I changed all my passwords again, going through the motions to get my accounts back. A few days later, I received three credit card bills in the mail.
That's true, nothing.
I still have the habit of skimming through the junk mail
Not the
in
credit
case there
card.
ever was anything super important. I'm glad I did because I might never have found out about the credit cards that were registered in my name.
Jesus.
I called the credit card companies to inform them that they were mistaken. I had never signed up for a credit card. My parents had warned me about them, so often I'd been deterred from ever getting one. Before you comment and tell me I need them to build my credit, yes, I know that now. A quick Google search told me what to do next. I called Equifax, which is a company that calculates your credit score and tells creditors that it's okay for you to open an account. I placed a 90-day fraud alert on my account. They said they would call me if anyone tried to open a credit account in my name. The dude at Equifax was kind enough to tell me what I needed to do next. He asked me to go online and view my credit report. If I saw my accounts I didn't recognize, I would write them down and fill out a complaint to the Federal Trade Commission, the FTC, explaining the situation. Once I had that submitted, I was to file a copy of it with the police and create a police report. Then, I had to take those 2 reports and call each of the credit companies that had issued credit to my identity and start the dispute process. I instantly felt very discouraged at the amount of effort that it would require. I felt utterly insane to be required to follow all these steps just because I was the victim of identity theft. God damn.
You're a victim of your own stupid decisions, unfortunately. But then again, you didn't know he was going to do all that. But he's opening credit cards. He had a keylogger in the back of his computer, bro. Dave is not what he seems to be. It sucks. I bet that he's humbled now. I'm pretty sure that he doesn't care about his life being boring. I'm pretty sure he doesn't care about being structured anymore. I think he's had a lot of excitement and adventure this whole time, and I'm pretty sure he's just going to be like, you know what? Maybe being bored and not having a structured life is not too bad after all, because now you got to deal with all this stuff. And let me tell you something, bro. Destroyed credit takes a long time to rebuild, because not only does credit cards stop trusting you, they stop giving you opportunities to get credit cards, and their limits are really small, so you can't really use them for anything. And it's just like, it's going to take a long time, unless you just get multiple and just, pay them off. Like, you know what I'm saying? Just pay them off, like, monthly. But other than that, it's going to take a minute, bro. Like, Dave just got to go, bro. You got to take Dave out, man. He's like Doodle Bob from SpongeBob, bro. You just got to erase him off the planet. Sound like this is not the first time. Yeah, exactly. It doesn't sound like this is Dave's first time doing it. He seems like he's been doing it for a while. He knows how to get people's cat password. He knows how to break into houses. He's not scared to do anything. Like, who is this dude, bro? Like, he got to be somebody from the dark web, like some Assassin's Creed, John Wick, Mission Impossible, Jason Bourne, identity theft type shit going on here. Because I don't know, bruh. He got to go or move states and change names or something.
Clark was horrified at what had happened. I looked at his credit score. He was relieved when it came back clean. I made Katie check hers just in case, too. Also clean. Actually, I'll take a moment to tell everyone listening that you are entitled, by law, to 1 free credit report per year from each of the 3 credit score companies.
Facts.
That means you can and should check your credit 3 times a year. Clark and I set reminders on our phones to check the score again in 4 months. I asked Katie to do the same. When I first found out about the accounts, I had called my parents to ask if they had opened any accounts in my name. If they had, I'd know who the culprit was. They told me they hadn't opened any accounts, and I warned them about my problems. They promised to check their credit scores. 2 weeks after I had called them, my dad called. They found 15 fraudulent accounts between the 2 of them.
15?
What the hell? I told him the steps he needed to take, and he was grateful for my help and warning. Look, I know this is boring to hear, but I want you to realize how insanely painful it is to fix all this shit. I mean, seriously, watch your credit reports and nip identity theft in the bud before it happens to you. I had requested detailed bills from my credit card companies that had issued the fraudulent accounts, and they mailed them to me. The bills were full of online purchases. The accounts had been opened almost a year ago, and in that time, the thief had spent $62,000 between all the fraudulent accounts. I was pretty upset. In a full year, I had only just found any credit card bills in the mail. I must have been tossing them with the mountains of junk mail. Now I know that the masses of junk mail were deliberate and calculated, so the bills would blend in and hopefully get thrown away. The first few transactions were from stores like Target, Walmart, etc. But further down I went, the less I recognized. One word stuck out to me. Bitcoin. I had learned a little bit about it from my Facebook feed, as I had some friends from high school who touted it as new real currency. According to the credit card statement, several $1,000s have been exchanged into Bitcoin. I started really researching Bitcoin and trying to figure out what it was and why an identity thief would want it. To make the explanation short, Bitcoin allowed my thief to make completely anonymous purchases online. It was as if he'd gone to an ATM, drained all the credit cards into cash. I didn't foresee the credit card companies ever getting their money back. David now had a hell of a lot of cash that he could use to ruin my life. I didn't know it was him at the time, obviously, but now I do. Guys, identity theft is a serious crime and very damaging to someone in the economy.
Yeah.
And while the theft had been bad, my life was about to get a whole lot worse. That's all I have time to say for now. I have to go and get some serious shit taken care of. I'll be back again as soon as I can. My name is Xander, and my best friend is trying to ruin my life.
Damn, man. Poor Xander, bruh. I was just going to say, when I first got my debit card out when I was in California, bruh, somebody used my... I don't know how they did it. I think they used one of them little credit card scanner things that you use in the ATMs or wherever it was, but they were like, I bought a TV at Target, and I was just like, what? Because I check, ever since then, like, I legit check my bank account, like, breakfast, lunch, and dinner, bro, like, clockwork. I always check my account because of that one time where somebody bought a TV. I don't know how they did it, and I was like, hey, it wasn't me. I didn't buy no TV, bro. Y'all can go back and check the cameras. I was not in that store. And I mean, eventually they refunded me the money, even though it wasn't, their fault technically. But and I wasn't even with that bank for that long, but they ended up refunding my money. So that's a good thing. That's why I say it's kind of hard, especially when you're like an adult and you have all these like cable bills and light bills and everything is done online. And you need passwords and email addresses and stuff. It's just like, it's good to have like a little password book and change your password, make strong passwords, because people are getting smarter, or use like what you call that? I don't know if that's an actual good one or not, like the face identity one where the phone scans your face. I don't know if that's a good one or not, but just make sure that you change your passwords frequently, especially if you're using stuff like Gmail, your credit cards, debit cards, stuff like that. Try to change your password at least every 3 months or every 6 months, or even more if you're more of on the paranoid side, because you never know who's watching. You never know what people are trying to look and steal your information. So be on the lookout for that. And use like use like 2-step security processes. Sometimes you can put your face, and sometimes you can put your phone number, and sometimes you get like you can sign up for notifications when your things or something has been signed in. So you're like, wait a minute, I didn't sign in this. And they be like, hey, is this you? You can be like, no, it's not me. I know Gmail has that. If they detect something that you haven't used in a while, like if you're used to signing on Google on your phone and then you try to go sign on Gmail onto a computer, they're going to send your email to your phone saying that if it's you, and you have to click yes and tell them which number it is, and then they'll let you on. So just be cautious of that, because like you said, identity theft could be bad, but it also can be good. And I say that because it happened to a couple of people where people have taken their identity, but they needed the money in order to get back on their feet, but they was paying it off over time, and it boosted people's credit. I mean, I'd rather not people take my identity as it is, but there's some people out there that just need it and will boost your credit up in order to get back on their feet, if that makes sense. But we about to be going into the next video, so if you guys enjoyed, man, this video is by McCreepyPasta, but it's by Xander San 90. So if you haven't already, be sure you swoop down to the description box, click on that link, and go watch the video in entirety while me pausing and stopping and talking through the whole thing. Next video we're going to react to is Mr. Ballin, and I'm about to post that up right now after I move all this stuff out of the way. But yeah, man, that was a creepy story. That was a really good story. Was it Michaela213? Thank you so much for recommending me that video. I really appreciate that. And here we go. This video I decided to react to because, like I said, one of our fellow Crow members, or Crow's Nest members, freaking said it was his birthday. He would like me to react to one of these because this is one of his favorite Mr. Ballin videos. I don't think he's here right now due to the time restriction or the time zone difference. So we're going to react to it, and maybe you can go back and watch the live stream as is when it's posted. But Werewolf Kid, Werewolf, happy birthday, man. I don't know how old you turned, but happy birthday. Hope you have a great birthday, man. Be aware of surroundings. Eat lots of food and not too much candy. I don't know. But yeah, happy birthday. Happy birthday to you, from the Crow's Nest to you. My gift to you is Mr. Ballin's Mike and Wooly's scariest Bigfoot attack. And I hope you enjoy it as much as I do. What'd you say? Password manager and double authentication. Absolutely nothing to see. I 100% agree with you, man. Password manager and double authentication is your best bet. Let's get it.
For at least 2 centuries, people have been claiming to see this tall, hairy, ape-like creature walking around forests all over the world, but mostly in North America. That creature is commonly referred to as Bigfoot. But despite the thousands of sightings that have occurred over the years and the nearly 400 news sightings of this supposed creature every year, there's never been any scientific proof that the creature actually exists.
Thanks.
So while the legitimacy of these first-hand accounts is very much up for debate, and probably will be for some time, what's not up for debate is how absolutely terrifying some of these first-hand accounts are. And so what I did is I went out and found 2 of the most frightening encounters with Bigfoot, and I'm going to share those stories on today's video. But before we get into those 2 stories, if you're a fan of the strange, dark, and mysterious delivered in story format, then you've come to the right channel, because that's all I do, and I upload 3, 4, even 5 times every week. If that's of interest to you, I would encourage you to steal the like button's phone and turn off all of their alarms so they're late for work tomorrow. Also, please subscribe to my channel and turn on all notifications so you don't miss any of my weekly uploads. All right, let's get into today's stories.
Let's go.
In July of 1924, Fred Beck, along with 4 other gold prospectors, stumbled out of a forest right near Mount St. Helens in Washington state. And they swore to each other that they would not tell a soul what they had seen in the mountains the night before. But literally within a few hours of making that promise to each other, one of the men had spilled the beans at a bar. Very quickly, their story would garner major national media attention and even drew some international attention as well. This is their story. So the week leading up to the men arriving back in town with this crazy story, they had been prospecting for gold in an area they were very accustomed to working in. In fact, for the past 6 years, they had been going to this spot. So it was an area they knew well. And so this particular week that they were out there had been really successful. They had found a whole bunch of gold. It was like this great run of luck and nobody wanted to leave. Unfortunately, one of the men, named Fred Beck, started complaining of a really bad toothache. Now, they're about 2 miles away from this town. It's very rugged terrain. It's not safe for someone to travel alone in case something were to happen. And so Fred needed one or all of these men to come back with him. None of them wanted to leave, but they were willing to compromise. And they said, let's stay here today, and then we'll leave first thing tomorrow morning. And so Fred didn't really have much of a choice, and so he agreed, and they spent the rest of the day prospecting for gold. When the sun started to go down, the men decided it was time to pack it in and head to their cabin. Now, because these men had worked in this area for the past 6 years, they had actually built a small log cabin centrally located in this area so they could just crash out there and continue to work and not need to commute out of the town. The cabin, though, was not built for comfort. It was built entirely for practicality. It was barely big enough to sleep all 5 men, and in fact, 2 of them had to sleep in the same bed, like right against one another, and then the other 3 had to sleep on the ground. There were no windows in this cabin. It was like this awful chamber that they were trapped inside of. But it was sturdy, it protected them from the elements, and it was enough because they were out there for work, not for pleasure. So as they're walking towards their tiny little cabin, they get just outside the cabin and notice a very large footprint, like an animal print, outside the cabin. The men stop, they look down. Now, these are 5 rugged mountain men that are accustomed to being out in the wild. They've had their fair share of run-ins with large predators, and so they quickly said, oh, that's a bear print. But upon closer inspection, as they're looking at this print, they noticed it was 19 inches long. That's way too big to be a bear print.
Sound like me.
So they start speculating about what type of animal could make that print. As they're speculating, one of the men brings up that over the course of the week when he had been away from the group, a little ways away from the cabin, he had noticed a similar, not nearly as big, but a similar print. And when he had bent down to look at the print and inspect it to see what it was, he said he heard a whistling sound coming from the forest that was right next to him. And so he stood up and he looked, but he didn't see where the whistling was coming from. And he thought to himself, I don't know what animal makes that sound. So he's looking out, he can't see where the whistling's coming from, and then he hears whistling behind him. The same sound, but on the opposite side of him. And he turns around and he looks, and there's nothing over there as well. And he's trying to put together in his head what animal makes that sound. He knows it's not the people he's out there with because they were way over near the cabin and he could actually see them from where he was.
Red flag.
And he starts getting this really uneasy feeling that whatever made this huge print is probably in the woods right now watching me, whistling at me. And so he abandons the print and heads back to camp, but was too embarrassed to bring the story up to the group in fear that they would think he was exaggerating, so he never brought it up. When this guy tells this story to the group, Fred Beck would say, "That's weird. I heard whistling coming from the forest too. I thought it was you guys." They figured they were dealing with a large predator. They decide that it's in their best interest to forego a campfire outside the cabin, which they normally would do at night, and instead just go right inside the cabin and shut the door because they don't know what animals are out here and they want to play it safe. So they're sitting inside their windowless little dark cabin and they start feeling pretty hungry. And they decide they want to boil some water to make food, but they don't have any water. Normally, when any of these guys went out to fetch water, they would go by themselves. The spring was not very far away from their cabin. They just walk out, scoop some water up, and come back. But because they were all feeling pretty uneasy, and they didn't know what this big animal was that was in their general vicinity, Fred, along with one of the other men, whose name was Hank, decide to go together and to bring their rifles just in case. Fred and Hank begin walking over to this stream that was only about 100 meters away from where they were. The moon was out, so there was a little bit of light coming from that, but it was mostly dark. And they're walking over to this stream. Then all of a sudden, Hank stops and raises his rifle up at the side of this embankment that was totally forested all the way up the side of the valley. Fred looks where Hank is aiming, and immediately he can tell what he's looking at. Standing a couple hundred meters up this mountain is this creature that's very tall, standing on two legs. It appears to be hairy, that's poking its head around a tree, and it's looking at them. They could only see it because the moon was casting light directly on it, so it was totally illuminated. As soon as Fred recognizes what they're looking at, the creature ducks back behind the tree. At the same time, Hank fires 3 shots in its general direction, and then there's silence. And then all of a sudden, it comes barreling out from behind the tree and is running straight down the mountain towards them while whistling over its shoulder, looking like it's communicating with something behind it. Hank starts firing in its direction. It's clearly not striking this creature, but at some point, the creature disappears. They don't know where it went. It's dark out. The only way they could see it before was because the moonlight happened to illuminate it. Now they don't know where it is. Fred and Hank abandon the water idea and they run right back to the cabin. They jump inside, shut the door, and they start barricading the door shut. The other men are like, what the heck is going on?
I mean, you can do all that, bruh. The whistling in a 19-inch footprint, me personally, if I just stepped outside the cabin, right outside the cabin, bruh, was a 19-inch footprint. Not 5, not 11.5, bruh. He wasn't wearing Jordans. It wasn't Nikes. It was a footprint, bruh. I don't know how many toes, but I'm assuming it's going to be 5, maybe 6. In the mud, outside, which means this big ass, whatever it was outside the cabin, and you couldn't even hear it, and you're going to sit there overnight, and then you're going to go out at nighttime to boil some water, bruh. No, baby, no. We don't do that, man. Gee willikers, Batman. Like, that's exactly why I don't do camping, bruh. Like, I tell you guys to get weapons, but at some point, weapons are not going to work. I don't think a weapon would work on Bigfoot, bruh. Like, I don't know. They have 400 cases, but out of those 400 cases, everybody have a Nokia cell phone for some reason. The video is never clear. All these GoPros and Panasonic, or what you call it? I don't know. I forgot the camera's name. But you know what I'm saying? Sony, all these cameras, man, and we could never get a good picture or video of Bigfoot. I'm just starting to lose hope in general, bruh. Like, I don't know, man. Red flags, man.
And they start explaining what happened. They didn't know if it was a person or if it was this creature. They heard that whistling sound. All the guys are spooked. And now they're barricaded inside of this tiny cabin, and it's totally dark. There's no windows, so they can't even see what's going on outside of the cabin. And so they just had to sit there and hope that this creature does not come anywhere near them. After a long period of total silence, the men start to feel like, okay, whatever that was, it's not coming back. It's late at night. Let's just try to get some sleep. And so the men all lay down and eventually doze off to sleep. Then at some point in the middle of the night, something smashes into the side of the cabin, causing them all to wake up. Hank's yelling out because a piece of wood that actually made up the cabin had come loose from whatever had hit the side of the cabin and fallen onto him. So the group gets up. There's a little bit of light coming through this now little crack in the wall from where this wood plank came out. They can see what's happening now. There's a little bit of light inside. They run over, they get this plank off of Hank, and as they're trying to kind of make sense of this chaotic moment, they start hearing what sounds like lots of people running around the outside of their cabin. Hank, who was closest to this little slat that had been created from one of the planks falling out, just turns his head to look out the slat. Because of the moon, there was a little bit of illumination, and when he looked out, he was horrified because he saw 3 creatures, these tall, ape-like creatures, the same one that Fred and Hank had been shooting at up over at the valley before. They're standing 10-15 meters away from the cabin, standing upright, looking at the cabin. They're holding these small boulders in their hands. And as Hank is looking through the slat, he's trying to get a little bit closer to get a better look. One of the creatures bends down and sees that Hank is looking at him, and he winds up and he throws the boulder and smashes against this little slat. Hank basically falls over because he's trying to avoid this boulder being thrown at him, but the slat was small enough that it didn't go through. Hank's telling the rest of the men that there's 3 of them. There's 3 of them. They're right there. The men are grabbing their rifles. They're getting ready to aim out of the slat to try to take a shot at one of these creatures. But by the time they have a sight picture, there's no one out there, except they hear these footsteps and they start hearing whistling coming from the other sides of the cabin where they have no way of seeing what's going on because there's no windows and that gap in the cabin was only facing one way.
Sound like
so
me
they
screaming.
just sit there in silence as they hear all this whistling and footsteps and shuffling happening outside of their cabin. Then all of a sudden they hear slamming against the one door that leads into the cabin. They had barricaded the door already, so they go up and they're pressing back against the barricade as whatever is outside is trying to break into the cabin, but it can't get through the barricade. When they couldn't break in the front door, there was a barrage of these boulders smashing into the cabin. Now, these men had built the cabin. They knew it was sturdy, but they didn't know if it could withstand boulders hitting it. And so for hours, these rocks and boulders are smashing into the cabin. They never see them again through that slat. They kept periodically looking, and there was never any creatures that were on that side. It was like the creatures knew that they could be seen on that side, but couldn't be seen elsewhere. Finally, it just stops, and they sit down in the middle of the cabin. Fred was sitting in such a way that he could actually see the slat in the cabin that was now open and exposed. And as he's sitting there, Fred is horrified when he sees a hand slide into the cabin. A hairy, big ape hand that reaches in and starts fumbling around, grabs hold of an axe that was leaning up against the inside of the cabin. And as it's getting ready to pull it out, Fred runs over and twists the axe so it won't slide through the slat. And so the creature's slamming the axe, trying to get it out at the same time that Hank takes a shot and shoots right through the slat. The creature releases it and runs away. They hear all this whistling very close to their cabin, which made them realize that they had just been quietly waiting outside of their cabin. They had never left. But after Hank had taken that shot at the thing's hand, it sounded like almost a stampede was running away off into the forest. And at that point, the group was fairly certain that it was done. The next morning, when they saw through that slat in their cabin that the sun had finally come up, the men packed only the bare necessities. They got their weapons. When they finally opened up that door, all over the ground, all around the cabin were these rocks that clearly had been thrown at the cabin.
All I know is, if he didn't grab that axe and twist it, bro, they would have Paul Bunyan the hell out of that cabin, bro. And they all would have got clapped, bro. 1, okay, maybe. But if y'all got 3, I don't know, bro. And they super fast and strong, bro. Like, I'm surprised they didn't break through that barricade. Because if you hit the side of a cabin and one of the wood pieces fall off, bro, I don't know. I don't think that door could have stood a chance, but I don't know what they barricaded the door with. Maybe it was like a couch or something heavier than that, but I don't know, bro. Like, I don't think 3 rifles would have took on 3 Bigfoots. But then again, those Bigfoots was terrified of them goddamn rifles that they had, so maybe it could have did some damage. Who knows, man? Like, I don't know. They weren't friendly. They weren't the Sasquatches from Jack Link's beef jerky commercials, bro, so they meant business. I don't know if just them being in the area made them get mad, or if it was mating season, or they were trying to protect cubs nearby. I don't know if they think like humans, or they have animal characteristics, or what, bro. But I think when they shot at them earlier, it made them even more mad. And then the fact that they still decided to stay there is beyond me. Like, none of that stuff would have ever happened. Thank God that dude twisted the axe, because I think if he didn't twist it, that would have been it for them, bro. 100%.
The cabin itself had obviously withstood the barrage, but there was gash marks and slashes all over it. Feeling very lucky, the men start making their way out of the valley, and they make their way all the way back to town. And after the story kind of went viral, loads of people went out there to try to find these creatures, but no one ever could.
Good. The Mike Woolley story.
In December of 1981, Mike Woolley decided he wanted to go deer hunting in his hometown in Louisiana. It was a cold day, it was great conditions for a hunt, and Mike had a deer stand that was set up about 1.5 miles down this old logging road that no one really used. He would take his truck and he would drive about halfway down that road, and then he'd get out and he would walk the remaining, half mile, 3/4 of a mile to his deer stand, because if he drove his truck in, he would scare away all the deer.
Facts.
He made it to his deer stand by about 3 p.m. that day, and he'd only been there for about 30 minutes when all of a sudden this young doe comes running across and stops right in front of his deer stand. The doe lays down and is clearly exhausted, and Mike would say that it looked like something was chasing it, and he assumed it was some huge buck. And so Mike's getting ready for this big buck to emerge when out of the corner of his eye he sees something pretty big jump out of a tree. And he kind of turns his head and looks, and it's not a buck.
What
It
the
looks
fuck is
like
that?
a gorilla. He thought, okay, a gorilla must have gotten out of the zoo. But then he's thinking to himself, there isn't a zoo around here, and there's no circus around here, so it can't be an escaped gorilla. And then he was like, okay, someone must have put on a gorilla suit to stop me from deer hunting. They're out here to try to get me to leave this spot. They're anti-deer hunting, and so they're here to screw with me. And so Mike, believing that was the case, he starts yelling to them, take off your mask. This isn't okay. This isn't funny. I have a license to be here. You can't be here. You need to leave. Get out of here. And so this thing that he believes is a person wearing a gorilla suit just completely does not react. It's just standing looking at him. And it's about 15 or 20 meters away from him at this time, and it's just staring at him. It's on 2 legs. Mike starts to feel uneasy because he's thinking to himself, if this is somebody in a gorilla suit that's trying to get me to leave, wouldn't they right now announce that? And
Yeah, they would announce it, but if you think about it, bro, who the hell is chasing deer in the middle of the day in a goddamn Bigfoot suit, bro? And the fact that who's going to keep up with a deer at that, you know what I'm saying? You can put anybody in a Bigfoot suit, bro. They can't keep up with no animal in the wilderness, bro. All them branches and hills and stuff like that, bro. There's no way. And if the fact that the deer is tired, you would have thought that Bigfoot was tired. The deer is tired from running because they've been chasing them for so far. I've never seen or heard a hunting story where a deer just collapsed right there in the middle of the field. Like, you know what, bro? Just go ahead and clap me. And the fact that he was like, hey, you can take off your mask now. Me personally, I'd have been, hey, take your mask off. And it would have looked at me. I'd have been like, all right, that's when my panic would have started to cut. I would have pressed the life alert button or something, bro. I got to get help. Call the helicopters, back up, anybody, bro. Jason Bourne, John Wick, call all of them, bro. What's his name? The dude from Taken. Call him too. Furries in the forest. Facts.
you need to leave, they wouldn't just stand there doing nothing. And so Mike, even though he knew it was going to probably escalate the situation, raises up his rifle in the direction of this person to use his scope to basically zoom in on this person and get a better look. And when he raises his rifle and he zooms in, he immediately knows that this is not a person wearing a mask. Steam was coming off of its face like it had been running. I mean, it was 30 degrees outside. And he said he could see its nostrils flaring like it was out of breath, or that perhaps it was angry. He didn't know. Even though it wasn't a person wearing a mask, it looked very human-like because it had human teeth, flat teeth. It had, he said, human eyelashes. And just the general structure of its face appeared to be human. And he thought to himself, is this a feral human? Is that possible? Is this a person that has been born and raised in the wild? And so as he's pointing the weapon at this creature, looking through the scope, just totally dumbfounded. Mike has no intention of shooting at this point. He really just wanted to stare at it. The creature roars, and Mike describes it as like a lion's roar. This thing was suddenly really upset with Mike. And Mike believed later on that it was because he raised his weapon at this thing. As soon as it roars, Mike said that about 100 meters in the other direction, he hears this really loud, piercing whistle coming through the forest. As soon as that whistle comes through the forest, the creature that was still growling stops and turns its head in the direction of this whistle.
Goons.
And it whistles back. And so Mike, I mean, the hair on the back of his neck is standing up. He knows they're communicating, probably about him.
Run.
And as he's realizing this, he lowers his weapon and he's looking at the creature in front of him who's whistling and looking in the direction of this way.
Run.
And then that creature snaps back and looks right at Mike.
Run.
And as he's wondering what he should do next, another creature walks out of the tree line and stands right next to the first creature. And the way it walked, it was walking like a human. It was on two legs. And they're both standing about 20 meters away looking directly at Mike. Mike is terrified. And he would say that he knew that he had to make a run for it. And so he leaps from his stand and starts running towards his truck, which is about a half mile away. And he said as soon as he did, he could tell that one of them at least started sprinting after him. And he looked over his shoulder as he's running towards the logging road, and he sees that one of the creatures is running parallel to him, easily running as fast as he is. It's choosing to stay, 5-10 meters away from him, but running in step with him the whole way. It's like it's forcing him to leave the forest. And so Mike is running, waiting to get attacked by this creature. He finally gets to his truck, he clambers inside and shuts the doors, and he looks out of his window and he sees the creature just standing there looking at him from the trees. He looks in his rear view and he sees that the other creature had also been running after him on the logging road, that the two of them had basically herded him to his car. It was an intelligent move. Mike believes that because he raised his weapon at that first creature, that triggered a series of events that led to them chasing him out of the woods. He said that he was the aggressor, not the other way around. We don't know if either of those stories are true, but certainly they are terrifying. So I'd love to get your reaction to these two stories in the comments. Are these total fabrications, or is there some truth to Bigfoot?
I don't
and
know,
these
bro.
stories are just evidence of that. If you enjoyed today's story and you want to hear more like it, I would encourage you, if you haven't already, to steal the like button's phone and turn off all their alarms so they're late for work tomorrow. Also, subscribe to this channel and turn on all notifications so you don't miss any of my weekly 3, 4, even 5 video uploads. If you have a story suggestion, drop it into our subreddit called Mr. Ballin. It's linked below in the description. If I intentionally use one of your story suggestions, I will absolutely credit you. If you want to get in touch with me, you can direct message me on Instagram. My username is johnballin416.
Facts.
I'm also very active on TikTok, where my handle is Mr. Ballin. So whether I see you on Reddit, Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, or some combination, I just really appreciate your support. And until next time, guys, that's going to do it. See ya.
Yeah, man.
For at least...
Oops. Well, dang, bro, that was kind of scary, bro. I don't know. I don't really know too much about Bigfoot, but those are probably one of the more promising stories I've heard. I don't know. Me personally, if I would have seen that, I probably wouldn't have said anything. I probably just would have watched from a distance. But if there are two of them, who's to say he was distracting them from the one that was kind of like behind him and off to the right? You get what I'm saying? And the fact that he started running, he took off running. Now, mind you, the ones he said he's far away already as it is. You get what I'm saying? Because he had to use the sniper scope to see what he looked like because he was so far away. So when he jumped down and started to run, he looked back and it was already parallel to him, bro. If he wanted to catch him, he could. He was rematching his same speed. They just wanted him to get out of there. Like, hey, get out of here before we kind of like kill you. But the fact that he caught up so quickly is just, it's scary. Like, that's why I don't go to the woods. I don't do any of that stuff, man. It's just not for me. It's not my cup of tea. I don't want to see Bigfoot. I don't want to hear from him. I don't want to look at him. I don't want to see something. Even if it's not Bigfoot, if it's something else, I don't want to see it, man. I go to work, come home, or I go out with friends, come home. Like, I don't do anything extra. I'm not staying overnight in the desert. I'm not staying overnight in the woods, in the mountains, the caves, beaches. Like, I don't care, bro. Whatever it is, I'm coming home. Like the song, bro. I'm coming home. I'm coming home. No, bro. 100% not doing it, bro. Like, I'm not even gonna put myself through that. But I'm going to end it right here, guys, man. If you enjoyed my content, man, hit that like button, hit the subscribe button, support your boy. These videos were by Mr. Ballin, Nightmare Files, and Mick Creepypasta. So Keep doing what you guys doing. Keep supporting the cause, man. We're right around the corner from 2,100. Our goal is to make it to 5K. I'm pretty sure we might make it to 10K by the end of this year. Hopefully you guys enjoyed the content, man. But yeah, that's going to do it for this today's stream. Be on the lookout for a possible live stream tomorrow of Little Nightmares. If not, it's just going to be a pre-recorded gameplay, and then Monday or Tuesday we'll pick back up again with another reaction channel or another reaction video. We said the woods is lit. Hell no. No, it's not. Not even close. Nah, man, not for me. I'm straight. I've seen too many movies. I've read too many books. I've read or seen too many YouTube videos. It's all good. Rocky Sims that again. Damn it. Yeah, that was it. My bad, Rocky. Dang. We just ended it, bruh. Sheesh. Dang, that was a good one. Well, hopefully Wolf Kid Werewolf enjoyed that. It was for his birthday, so hopefully he enjoyed that one. That was a really good way to end the live stream, too. That was a really creepy-ass video, bruh. Now I'm about to go on YouTube and search Bigfoot videos, although I know most of them are going to be in, like, 240p on, like, a Boost Mobile chirp phone, but I don't know. I might find some good ones. Who knows? But again, thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you guys next time. Let me know down in the comment section if you want to, if you have any recommendations as far as gameplays or reaction channels, and I'll go into looking at them, and we'll go from there. There's no good movies on Netflix, Zim's homie. The last good movie I saw on Netflix was, I mean, I think Netflix is different depending on where you are, right? Let me see. Let me see. I don't think they. Do they have like the watch again thing? No, what is it called? Life Below was okay. It wasn't that bad. I seen another video, but I can't think of what it was. I just seen it not too long ago. Damn, my memory's horrible, bro. Don't watch Bad Trip. Bad Trip was a stupid movie. That wasn't even funny to me. I think that movie was super boring, bro. Like, it was not funny at all. My mom was like, it was so funny. Man, I watched that. I laughed probably like once. Comedy movies are not like it used to be, bro. Like Rush Hour and Friday and Wedding Crashers and all that stuff, bro. They don't make comedy movies like they used to no more, bro. They be trying too hard now. And the actors are but yeah. I don't know. But there are some good ones. Ubi, you just got to watch out for them. I don't know what kind of movies you're into, but there's some good ones. If you haven't seen Snowden, Snowden's a good movie. I just watched that recently, too. Snowden is a really good movie. Nightcrawler is good. Lawless is good. The Serpent, if you're into TV shows, The Serpent's a really good TV show based on the actual dude that was killing people, and like a serial killer that was killing people over in Thailand. That's a good one. Yeah. But that's going to do it. But again, thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you guys next time.